What's on, everyone? Jeremy here from The Quartering, and I think basically everyone can agree that the ADL is one of the worst organizations on the planet, right up there with Media Matters and all these other basically organizations that use victimhood to silence, suppress, and censor anybody they don't like. And last week, they finally went too far. After Charlie Kirk lost his life, people started digging around the ADL and found that they had still listed Turning Point USA as a hate group, as well as Christians as a hate group, saying that the Christian identity in and of itself was toxic, hateful, and radical. This is the ADL, ran by Jonathan Greenblatt. I don't know if they're specifically about Jewish stuff or not. They're called the Anti-Defamation League, but really they're only ever involved in worrying about people saying bad things about Israel. Again, some criticisms of Israel, totally valid. Some wild conspiracies, all within our First Amendment rights. But the ADL and companies like Media Matters have for years specifically targeted people on the right for silencing, but they finally went too far, and now they have completely caved, and I'm actually shocked. The ADL has caved under pressure from conservatives, and Elon Musk will now remove their, quote, extremism glossary, which labeled Christianity and Turning Point USA as terror groups and hate groups. We are winning, keep pushing. And Elon, of course, responds, great. Jonathan Greenblatt, their CEO, is quoted as saying, the Christian identity movement is an anti-Semitic, racist, and unambiguously poisonous ideology. That's what, these are the type of things that are being attributed to the ADL. The ADL and Turning Point derogatory description is actually still there. TPU is racist and bigoted, and these have racist and bigoted incidents. Note, in this list that follows, several individuals are described as associated with alt-light. The alt-light is a spin-off movement from the white supremacist alt-right. This is, they still haven't changed TPUSA yet. So again, now we have to talk about the SPLC. They also have the exact same type of list. So why are these lists important? Well, I'm going to talk about that after. Let's pull up their actual response, because they disabled comments, of course. These lists are incredibly powerful in being used by the FBI and being used by YouTube, Instagram, Facebook. They are all, the ADL is the source of these organizations, different platforms being able to censor Americans. They'll say, oh, well, the ADL says that you're bad, so you're banned, you're demonetized, you're deplatformed. With over 1,000 entries written over many years, the ADL glossary of extremism has served as a source of high-level information on a wide range of topics for years. At the same time, an increasing number of entries in the glossary were outdated. We also saw a number of entries intentionally misrepresented and misused. No, it wasn't. So they're saying, no, well, it wasn't their fault. It wasn't the ADL's list that was wrong. It was how the list was being used that was wrong. That's what they're saying, right? Which, of course, obviously. Moreover, our experts have continued to develop more comprehensive resources and innovative ways to provide information about anti-Semitism, extremism, and hate. At the ADL, we're always looking for how we can and should do things better. And that's why we're moving to retire the glossary effectively immediately. Okay, well, that's incorrect usage here. This will allow the ADL to explore new strategies and creative approaches to deliver our data and present our research more effectively. It will keep us focused on ensuring we do what we do best, fighting anti-Semitism and hate in most impactful ways possible. Now, of course, they only allowed 2 quick replies And then they shut off the replies. Yoel Israel, right? This is the right move. I hope to see the ADA calling out more leftist and Islamic Jew hatred. Hate is hate. They won't do that. And Galen Ross snuck in there with a shameful for folding to Musk. But the real replies are in the quote tweets, folks. We are looking for how we can do better. Replies off. We will piss on your digital grave. Lol, you got roasted, deleted your glossary, and turned off comments. You know, all of these comments here. You're worse than clowns. Anyone who takes you seriously is not to be trusted. Again, this has always been the ADL glossary, as they call it, of people they don't like, has always served simply to censor and silence Americans. That was its entire purpose, and that's how it was used very effectively for a very long time. You know, now they're saying the ADL is protecting hate peddlers. What really happened here is the ADL, they figured out that they no longer have quite the power that they thought they used to. The ADL has figured out that most people, being, you know, the roughest on Israel or Jewish people in general, are leftists. The ADL had aligned themselves with the left over the past several years, and now they're seeing the tides of change, and that's the only reason they're actually changing any of this. The ADL League retires glossary of extreme groups after backlash for including Charlie Kirk's TPUSA. The ADL said the late Charlie Kirk and Turning Point USA had promoted, quote, Christian nationalism. By the way, what's wrong with that? What happened? What's wrong with that?
President Kamala Harris tying President Trump to Jimmy Kimmel's...
This one's not right. The ADL removed his entire glossary. The outrage comes nearly 3 weeks after TPA USA co-founder Charlie Kirk was assassinated in Utah Valley University. TPUSA's backgrounder page on the ADL website falls under the Center of Extremism tag and describes the conservative group as having ties to a wide range of right-wing extremists and have generated support from anti-Muslim bigots, alt-right activists, and some corners of the white supremacist alt-right. Well, I guess if you're the ADL, you know, you finally got rid of that target. You got rid of Charlie Kirk, so now you can retire it. I mean, what did they ever think? What did they ever think was going to happen with this list? This list was, its exclusive purpose was to other people, to set them up for advertiser boycotts, to set them up so lunatics could look at their, their name on this list and dehumanize them and justify whatever they do to them, whether that's, demonetizing them, deplatforming them, or in some extreme cases, taking their life. The ADL also listed dozens of controversial statements tied to TPUSA members or event speakers dating as far back as 2015 and wrote that Kirk used the movement to promote Christian nationalism. In response to the listing, Tesla CEO Elon Musk wrote on X that the ADL hates Christians, which makes it a hate group. He continued in a separate post, using such false and defamatory labels about people and organizations encourages murder, and I agree with that. Representative Anna Paulina Luna chimed in Monday with criticism of the ADL, writing, America First is not hate speech. Turning Point USA is not a hate group. She also tagged the ADL's account on X. When announcing the decision to retire its glossary of hate effective immediately, the ADL said they were looking for ways that we can do things better. The glossary had more than 1,000 people that they targeted. It included a group like the Nation of Islam, the Proud Boys, the Oath Keepers, and others. It also included TPUSA and the America First movement, while seemingly accidentally leaving out controversial groups like Antifa and Black Lives Matter. Why do you think they didn't include Antifa? Why do you think that? Why do you think that? I mean, I'm pretty sure they agreed with it. That's why Antifa's out there actually taking people's lives. Antifa's little theme song was on the bullets that took Charlie Kirk's life. They are scrapping this because they're afraid. They're scrapping this because they're afraid of getting sued. That's the actual reason. They don't really change they're not feeling differently about anything. They're just like, oh crap, we might get sued here. We might be in real trouble here. And that's why they're actually getting rid of it. They're not getting rid of it because they've had a change of heart. They're not getting rid of it because they believe that, TPUSA suddenly is not an extreme organization, or that Charlie Kirk wasn't an extreme person. They're afraid of getting sued. They're afraid of Donald Trump. They're afraid of the Trump administration. And as the second Trump is not in office, if a Democrat gets back in office, they're going to refire this list. They're going to bring back the inflammatory language. They're going to bring back all the justifications to, lunatics on the left to assassinate people for disagreeing with their opinions, because that's what they do. That's what the ADL does. That's what the Media Matters does. That's what was the other one? The SPLC, was that the other one? All these groups, they exist to dehumanize, smear, and ruin people's lives. And in this case, in my opinion, they got someone killed. I hope you're informed by this video. If you were, please do leave a like on it. If you haven't yet, please subscribe or follow down below. We'll talk to you again real soon.